Good morning. Make it a little quieter in here. Welcome to Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. A little chilly out this morning, so we're in the greenhouse. We got lots to do outside still, but we got a great week. Oh, we get a little tangle here. He's still tangled around there, Laura. There we go. All right. That's sorted out. We're in the greenhouse today because we're getting close to the holiday season, believe it or not. So we're going to look at a couple of the more traditional indoor bulbs and getting them planted. Laura, he's going to pull that there.
I got it.
And one of the hardy ones that's an easy one to force. So we're going to look at some amaryllis, we're going to look at some paper whites, and we're going to talk about forcing hyacinths as well, because they're an easy one for people to force. So right now in the stores, your fall bulbs are just finishing up. You can get some great deals. There's still loads of time to plant most fall bulbs. So don't feel the fact that we're getting frost at night is any issue. The ground is not frozen yet. There's still lots of warmth in the soil. So if you see some bulbs on a good deal, get them. We did. We got bulbs to plant this week because this week's going to be really nice according to the weather forecast. So we'll see what happens. But we want to get started on the holiday season, and we are mid-October, or sort of mid-November, sorry. Mid-November, we're, what are we, 7 weeks from Christmas, 6 weeks from Christmas, somewhere in that range. So it's time to start thinking indoor floral. So the one most popular bulb, of course, for the holiday season is the amaryllis. And there couldn't really be anything easier than growing an amaryllis. You can get so many different colors, different types, different size bulbs, which give you different results. That, you know, they're such a fun and easy bulb. It's great. So we're going to open up a Rudolph. Rudolph is a nice, solid, basic red amaryllis, sort of your standard for the season. Take a look at it here. They mostly all come packaged now, so it's kind of hard to get a really good look at the bulb sometimes, but amaryllis being such a big bulb, you get a pretty decent idea from the package of what you're getting. So here we are. Here's our amaryllis bulb. This is a good size bulb. That's a 12. What do they call that one? That's I don't know if they give you the bulb sizes anymore on the package. That's a 24 to 26 centimeter bulb. So 24 to 26 centimeter in diameter. If you look at amaryllis, I think that one was probably about centimeter. 24 centimeters, around like this.
Oh, okay.
Amaryllis are available in lots of different sizes and different prices. So it's important when you're shopping for them, don't just sort of look at the price and go, yikes, I'll buy the cheap one. Because the cheaper the bulbs get, the smaller the bulbs get. We were looking at a selection of amaryllis yesterday, and they went from about $10 up to $40. Now, when you look at a $40 amaryllis, you're probably going to be getting what they call the jumbo bulbs, which would be probably twice as big as this bulb. With amaryllis, if you buy a cheap small bulb that's smaller than this, you're probably going to get one spike of flowers, maybe two. As you get up in diameter, this size bulb, you're probably going to be guaranteed 2 spikes. You might get 3 spikes. As you get up into the bigger bulbs that are sort of in that $30 to $40 range and are really big, you could end up anywhere from 3 to 5 spikes of flowers, and they'll bloom for weeks and weeks and weeks. So you really kind of get what you pay for with amaryllis, but it's always based on the size of the bulb. As far as planting goes, amaryllis are really ridiculously easy. The one thing you do need to remember, though, is about planting depth. So normally you'll take a bulb that size, it's going to go into a 6-inch pot. Pretty straightforward. Any 6-inch pot will do. If you want to put them into a decorative pot later, make sure your plastic pot fits your decorative pot before you pot it up. We get some soil. You're gonna sort of about 3/4 fill the pot. Put the amaryllis in. And then we're gonna fill the soil, but what you want to remember to do is you want to keep about 1/3 of the bulb showing. Never bury them right up to here. I think you run a lot of risk of rot that way. When they're about 2/3 buried, that's kind of ideal. Firm that soil in well. Give them a good watering at this stage, and then don't water again until you see growth starting. What this bulb has got to do, like any bulb, it's been sitting dormant, this has to be coaxed into growth, and the watering will do that. But it's got to grow new roots, it's got to get settled in, and then it's got to start growing its shoots. The neat thing about amaryllis is that you really don't even need to water them to get them to bloom. They will just bloom sitting as a dry bulb. So that should give you a hint as to how much moisture they need when they are first started. Water them in. Don't water them again until you see growth starting. If you give them lots of water early, you run the risk of rotting the bulb. But also what amaryllis can do, a funny thing is sometimes if you give them lots and lots of water early, they will send up a spike that will get like 3 or 4 feet long. They go crazy. So you want to control that because they get very top heavy and very awkward to use. So go easy on the water when you first get them started. Really, what happens is that in the dry season, they're sitting dormant. First rain comes, triggers them into growth. They bloom sort of at the end of the dry seasons, and then leaves will grow after that. Through the growing season, through the rainy season where they come from. So try to remember that and mimic that growth pattern with your amaryllis, and they're easy as pie. So easy. That's all you need to do. Now, there's a lot of them. You're seeing these are very popular now, and you're seeing them everywhere. And they're the waxed amaryllis. And you know, when I first saw them a few years ago, I thought, well, that's pretty weird. But then I tried one, and as I mentioned, that an amaryllis will just sit as a dry bulb and bloom without any water. That's what these waxed ones are counting on. So the waxed ones are decoration. I'm not going to lie. You're probably not going to want to keep growing these on. There's probably not going to be enough life left in them once the bloom is done for them to rebloom well next year. But from a decorative standpoint, from a Christmas holiday table center decoration or whatever, the waxed ones are fantastic because you don't have to do anything to them. You buy it like this, they come on a neat little stand here to keep them level, and that's it. Build your arrangements, your table centers and things around them, and you're good to go. You can buy them like this pre-made. This one was about $27.99, I think. Huge bulb. This is going to give us at least 3 spikes of flowers. So it's going to be a good value. And you have to do nothing to it. So you really can't go too wrong. If you want to save some bucks, you can do these yourself. I did one myself. It was so easy. I'll show you quickly what we do. I'm going to use this Amazon here. We're not going to wax it, but we'll talk about how we do this process with the bulb. So really the one thing, when you start with an amaryllis bulb, you've got all these roots here. This one's got a few little dry bits on top, but no big deal. You've got all these dry roots here, and this is often how they come. And you think, well, how do you get from this to this? It's very simple. You just go in and you just take off all the roots that are here. And I'm not going to hurt this bulb. I'm going to plant this, and this will be fine. But you take off all the roots, like that, down to the base plate here. And then you simply have a pot of melted wax going and just start dipping it. We did one, the first one we ever did, we just melted a whole bunch of green crayons. What?
There's candles too.
Oh, and green candle bits and green crayons. And got a nice green liquid pot of wax going. Dipped it. One dip's not enough. We let it dry. We dip it, let it dry, dip it, let it dry. Probably about 5 or 6 layers maybe. And then it was done. We painted a little Grinch face on it. And the crazy bulb honestly had 3 spikes of flowers, one after the other, and bloomed for close to 6 weeks. 0 added moisture. The beauty of the wax holds the moisture in the bulb, so you're not losing it out of the bulb, and everything goes to the flowers. So don't look at those waxed ones and say, oh, isn't that horrific? Think of it as a Christmas decoration and embrace it. Easy, awesome. Probably once they're done all that bloom, there's not going to be much left in the bulb to try to regrow it. So you're probably just going to compost it, but you can try. Peel the wax off, pot it up, see what happens. With the ones that you do in the pots like this, if you want to keep them regrowing, what we do is after the bloom is done, we cut the flower spikes off, allow the foliage to grow, keep it in a sunny window for the rest of the winter, water it, fertilize it. In May it goes outside, and you can do a couple of different things. Ideally you need to keep the bulb growing. So you can take that bulb, if you have a group of them, just put them in a sunny spot out of the way, water them and feed them as needed, keep them growing all summer. Take the bulb out of the pot, throw it into a mixed planter, and then that way the bulb gets watered and fertilized along with the planter all summer. Or plant them out in a row in the vegetable garden and just keep watering them and feeding them all summer. The goal is to get that bulb, A, keep it healthy, and B, make it grow. You need it to grow. You need a big healthy bulb to produce everything that that plant needs to push out those big flowers next winter. Come September, you lift the bulbs, you dry them out, and then sometime around now, you can restart them, get them going again, and they'll start the cycle all over again. If you didn't do it right, if you didn't do it to the bulb's liking, it'll just grow leaves, and then you just try to get a bigger bulb for the next year. Super, super simple, very easy going, and easy to do.
Jeff?
Yep.
Saren would like to know, for the wax bulbs, do you soak the bulb a bit first? She thought she read somewhere that you should do that.
You know, if I was buying a fresh amaryllis that looked really good and firm, you probably wouldn't have to. It might not hurt. You're not going to hurt the bulb. Soak it for an hour, soak it for a couple of hours, allow it to maybe absorb a bit of moisture to plump it up. You could do that. We never did that when we did ours. We literally just took the bulb. It was good and firm, heavy, full of moisture already. When you can feel the weight of these bulbs, they're full of moisture. And we just dunked it and waxed it, and it was great. It was spectacular, actually. I was really, really impressed with it. So, one of the other really popular bulbs for indoor gardening are the paper white narcissus. Now, paper white narcissus are a beautiful bulb. They're not winter hardy in our climate. Actually, in fact, most of the paper whites that are grown to sell in the trade through North America are grown in Israel, because the conditions there are just right for the paper whites. When we take them out of the package, they look just like any other daffodil bulb. Nothing different about them. The one thing that paper whites have, they're very easy to force because they don't need any cold period or anything. You treat them just like an amaryllis. You could take a group of 3, put them into a 6-inch pot quite easily. You could even do 5 into a 6-inch pot. But one thing you need to be prepared for is paper whites are extremely fragrant. And if you get a big tray of them going, with that many blooming all at once, the fragrance could probably drive you out of the house. So we treat them a little bit differently, because one paper white at a time is great. It's got a nice fragrance, you know, really will perfume a room. So we do one at a time. Now, you could pot them up. You could put that into a little pot of soil if you wanted to, and do it that way. We go a different route. We go the old coffee cup way. We take some stones, fill the coffee cup with stones about maybe halfway, 2/3 of the way. I could go maybe a little bit higher here. One more in there. Basically, so your bulb is resting on a bed of stones. Then we'll take a few more stones, put it around for stability, because this is going to get 12 to 16 inches tall. So you're going to want the bulb to have some stability. So we'll put a few more stones around there. And there we go. We've got it ready to go. And then all you do is then take water, and you're going to fill your cup. Now it's a little tricky. You're going to fill your cup full enough so just the bottom of the bulb is sitting in water. I don't know if you can, I can't even show it to you exactly, but so what we've got is the bottom bulb here, the bulb plate where the roots are, is sitting in water, and then we're surrounded by stones again, and that is all you need to do. I'll turn it there, so there we go. That's all you need to do. What we then do with these paper whites is we'll start one today. In about a week or 2 weeks, we'll start another one in a separate cup. And 2 weeks after that, we'll start another one in a separate cup. That way, you've got the fragrance that won't be overwhelming, the beautiful white flowers in a succession, rather than an overwhelming mass. Because maybe I'm different from other people, but I get too many paper whites in a room at the same time, and I'm leaving the room. They're great one at a time, not great in a group. But super easy. All you need to do is keep an eye on that and make sure that water is just touching the bottom of the bulb. It will grow roots out into that water and be great for the life of the paper white. Now, after they're done, what do we do with them? You just compost them. You don't try and save them. You probably wouldn't be too successful. Certainly not doing the water method. Maybe if you planted them in pots, you could try. Treat them the same way as amaryllis. But easy, quick, fragrant decoration doing it this way. Everybody's got old teacups, old coffee cups you can use, whatever.
Jeff?
Yep.
Doug recalls much earlier in the year you singing the praises of a variety of amaryllis known as Barbados. Is that right?
Yeah, Barbados was a fantastic one.
I saw it yesterday.
It was really, really good. I was really impressed with it. We have big bulbs of Barbados dry right now, waiting to hopefully get some rebloom. It was one we forced on the show last year. Yeah, and it was really nice. I did see it available. We were at Connins in Newmarket. They had them available there. If you see a place selling the Florissa Frills bulbs, Barbados is available through them. Just look for that packaging and you can ask for Barbados. But it was a good one. So that's sort of the two easiest indoor, do nothing to them bulbs for indoor use. Another one that is traditionally used is the hyacinth. Again, like the paper whites, amazing fragrance, so many wonderful colors, and you can force them indoors very easily. This is just a standard package off the shelf. This is Rembrandt. Typical hyacinth. Now, one thing about hyacinths, you may want to wear gloves when you are working with hyacinths. Some people are very sensitive to hyacinth bulbs and can get pretty itchy when you're handling them. I'll probably be scratching all afternoon now because I'm not, but that is just something to be aware of with hyacinths. I don't think anybody gets more serious a reaction than just kind of a little itchy, but that's it. Anyway, hyacinths are an easy one to force. Sometimes at this time of the year, you will see what's called a prepared hyacinth. Prepared hyacinths are partially treated to force earlier. They're expensive. They're usually about double the price. You really don't need to buy prepared hyacinths to force. Regular ones will force equally as well and equally as easily. It just takes a little bit longer, a little bit of lengthening of the prep time. So we'll talk about that in a second. The easiest way to force the hyacinths, again, you could do them like the amaryllis. You could put 3 in a pot, do them that way. Traditionally, hyacinths are done in what are called hyacinth jars. This is one we just picked up yesterday. It's like $4. Look around at antique shops, flea markets, places. You can often find antique hyacinth jars. They're very popular. They were very popular. So you can find lots of different sizes, styles, shapes, colors, everything for hyacinths. Because this is all you really need to force a hyacinth. So we filled it up with water to the narrow part. You just take your hyacinth bulb and set it in the smaller upper cup. Now, with hyacinths, it's a little different than the paper white. The paper white is sitting in a little bit of water. With the hyacinths, you don't want to do that. You just want the base plate where the roots grow from, right here. You just want that touching the water or just hovering above it. If you have the hyacinth sitting in water, you're bound to rot it and your little project will be a waste. So you just have the water hovering below. I'm going to actually put a little bit more water in this because we're not quite there. Oh, just a sec here. Almost. Okay. So there we go. Our hyacinth is sitting here. Our water level is just touching the base plate. Now what we do with this, we have to chill it. Remember, a hyacinth is a hardy bulb. It will not bloom properly if it does not get chilled properly. So what we do with this, if you have a cold cellar that's cold and dark but above freezing, it can go in there. If you have the back corner of your refrigerator is cold and dark, it can go in there. All you need to do is keep it in a cold, dark place for 10 to 12 weeks. So for Christmas, we're a little bit behind already. Not a big deal. But 14 weeks from now, 12, 14 weeks from now, what are we talking? Valentine's Day, roughly? That's okay. That's a good timing. All you need to do is watch the water level. Make sure that it's just the roots that are in there. So what's going to happen is you're going to see that this hyacinth is going to start shooting out roots like crazy from that base plate right into the water. The water here is going to fill with roots. And you just need to keep that water topped up. So while it's in its cold treatment period, it's just got, the roots are in water. That's it. That's all you need to do. When you've reached the number of weeks, you'll probably start seeing some growth happening. You bring them out, and then they will finish the extension and growth of the flowers. If your shoot comes out and it blooms when it's this tall, then you know you didn't keep it in cold treatment long enough, or the cold treatment wasn't cold enough. Your hyacinth will bloom in here. It'll come up, it'll make a full-size spike, just like it would in the garden if you timed it right. Now, I said about 10 to 12 weeks. If you buy the prepared hyacinth, you kind of cut that time in half. So if you want to get them blooming for Christmas, if you want hyacinths at the holidays, you're going to need to find prepared hyacinths to get that jump start. Otherwise, you're looking sort of February bloom for these guys. So very, very easy. Such a simple way to get wonderful fragrance, color, floral interest in your house for the holidays and the winter season. There's lots of other bulbs that you can do. Tulips, daffodils, crocus. You can all do them the same way. Basically, they need to be done in soil. You would pot them the same way as this, a little bit deeper than the amaryllis if you're doing tulips, daffodils, crocus. But they need that cold period that we talked about with the hyacinth, where they are rooting and growing and preparing to bloom, but they've got to have that sort of 10 to 12 weeks of cold before they will bloom properly. So you can do any bulb that way. The one other neat thing that you can do is if you look around, you will sometimes find hyacinth jars that are like 2 or 3 times as big. And you're wondering, what the heck are those for? Those are for amaryllis. Because you can do amaryllis exactly the same way as we did the hyacinth, but with no cold period. So have a look around. Usually you'll see it where places are selling amaryllis bulbs. Good garden centers that have glassware and things like that will certainly have probably at least one amaryllis glass. And that's another fun way to do the amaryllis, just like you do the hyacinth, just in a bigger jar. One tip though, when you're looking to do amaryllis that way, look for the shorter ones. Watch the big tall ones. They can get really tall and very top heavy. You look for these shorter ones like these guys. You know, some of these cool new ones won't get any bigger than 18 inches, and that's probably even a bit of a stretch. They might even be shorter than that. And a lot of them are multi-flowering, which is great. So you can do the amaryllis in a pot, in the wax, or even in a big amaryllis jar, and use them just any way you want. They're great that way.
So
Do you have any questions today, Laura?
Betty was asking if the hyacinth jars are readily available in garden centers.
Most garden centers will carry a hyacinth jar. This is a basic standard one. It's a nice little jar, $4. But yeah, you will probably always find hyacinth jars, maybe not always the amaryllis jars.
Online you can look up bulb vase.
Online, bulb vase, you know, hyacinth glasses, you'll find tons of them. And again, I think the best place, Derek found this one at a garage sale or something. Just that beautiful depression glass. And you can actually get quite a collection of hyacinth jars if you look around for them and know what you're looking for. Any other questions, Laura, today?
Doug finds it hard to stake the flopping amaryllis leaves because the pot is usually small and short. Any suggestions?
Well, go to a bigger pot if they've got good root development. You can move up in a pot size if the plant is rooted well. Sometimes at first, you know, when they first go do their first bloom and they're going off a base plate that's like this or dormant roots, you don't always get good roots to start with in there. So yeah, it can be a bit difficult, but you don't want to over pot at that stage because you will rot them. Holding up the leaves that are a bit floppy, yeah, that can be a bit challenging. But you know, actually, probably
Can you use some
the best way.
tricks with
I'm sort of
dogwood and stuff?
Yeah, you know, one way you can do it is put in like 4 little spikes of willow stems or dogwood stems, and then just twine around those, and that'll sort of help keep the floppy leaves better rather than just one stake. One stake would be too hard. But really, yeah, make sure your bulbs are rooting well, and that'll help a bit too, and then you could move them up in size. But also the orchids, I was just looking to see if I had one here, but I don't. If you go to a place that sells orchids, you can sometimes get the wire orchid supports that clip on to the side of the pot and then will hold the leaves up. That'll work better than trying to put a stake down in the pot, in the soil. So probably the best way to go there. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
All right, then that's where we'll leave it for today. If you're in the GTA on Wednesday, November the 15th this week, come by the TBG. I'll be speaking on Wednesday night at the TBG, I think 7 o'clock, 7:30. If you're a TBG member, it's free. If you're not a TBG member, I think it's $20, which you might as well put towards a TBG membership if you're there. Come on out. It's a big hall. I'd love to see lots of you out there. I don't want to be by myself. That's Wednesday, 7 o'clock-ish at the Toronto Botanical Garden. Also,
What are you talking about?
what am I talking about? Well, that's a good question. The talk is called 30 Years on a Sand Dune. It's basically a bit of a history of our garden, what we found when we got here and put our first shovel in the ground, and how we dealt with what turned out to be an extremely dry garden situation, and what we've been able to do through different techniques of working in the dry. We have very dry sand, but it all translates to dry conditions of any type. So if you're on dry, heavy clay, it's not going to exclude you. We'll be talking about that too. So it should be a good, interesting talk, be a lot of fun, a little bit of reminiscing. It'll be a fun one. Anyway, also, our trips for this year: Chelsea Flower Show in May, Highlands of Scotland the first half of August. If you want more information, email Marjorie at masonhousegardens.com. Our email was screwed up for about 48 hours, so if you sent an email recently, please resend it. We've got the glitch fixed. Both trips are about 25% sold already. So if you're thinking about coming with us on one of those great trips, get your name on the list for more information, or at least a maybe right away. Give Marjorie an email and we'll put you on that interested list. Other than that, we'll leave you at that for today, and we'll see you next Sunday for more Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. The weather's going to be great this week. Get out and garden. We've still got lots of trees and shrubs to plant, so that's what we're doing this week. And we're finishing up some beds that we can plant in the spring, so keep gardening. See you.
TBG is 7 p.m.
7 p.m. TBG, Wednesday, August 15th. We'll see you there, hopefully. If not, we'll see you next week on Let's Get Growing Facebook Live.